everyone, welcome to the last set of talks for the day. Starting us off is Sinead Lunny from Vocalis. She's going to be talking us through Speak with Power, Lead with Presence.
Hi everyone, my name is Sinead Lunny from an organisation called Vocalis Public Speaking. A word that I use a lot is gravitas. And when I talk about gravitas, I'm talking about the presence that you feel and the presence you're perceived to have by others when you speak. So in the course of the next 30 minutes, hopefully you will all learn something new. Anyone can Google, how do I become a better speaker? But this hopefully will be much more practical and much more unique. So let's begin. This is the cheesy first slide. Welcome, NIDC. What a treat we have in store. But I have tried to make it fun because some of the theory is quite dull. And that's me saying that. So we've tried to find ways to make it enjoyable. If anything, to motivate you to keep up these exercises and vocal exercises, etc., after today. So, very quickly, who are we and what do we do? When I say we, I mean me, because it is still just me. Well, I am passionate about the voice. This wasn't always my job. I'll tell you a little bit more about my journey very shortly, but to me, the voice has always been a source of interest. From a young age, I was always imitating actors on the TV, comedians doing different accents. I was very heavily involved in drama. Everyone has a voice. Sometimes we're unsure how to use it. So hopefully you'll learn some skills today that you can apply immediately and use effectively. Some of the clients that we have, lots of tech clients, as you can see. So what I do is I go into organisations and speak to people about how to enhance their vocal and communication skills. Sometimes there is a misconception. People think, oh, well, she's just going to tell us, slow down, speak up. There is a little bit of that, but for me, where the interest and enthusiasm really lies is listening to people's personal speech nuances. Now, I know that feels very waffly, it sounds very airy-fairy, and some of you are sitting thinking, what on earth does she mean by that? Well, I'm able to pick up in real time little foibles in people's speaking voices that may or may not be attacking their credibility as a speaker. All will become clear in due course. So, this is a very airbrushed photo, as you can see. Looks nothing like me, was taken in 2019, but I'm too vain to change it. So, story time. What on earth is all of this about? Well, I used to be a lawyer. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. The only thing I enjoyed, however, about being in the law was being inside the courtroom and trying to ascertain how come he was able to persuade a jury, but she wasn't? Or how come he's got such a presence about him, but she comes across as almost apologetic? And a lot of it was to do with how they sounded. So, at university, I studied law with French. All my family's in the law. I was never pressurised into it, but I fell into it. I used to look at my dad, my brother, my mum, who all really appeared to enjoy their work. I was decent enough at languages and English, drama, so I thought it was something that might interest me. My real passion, however, was to go to RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, darling, and become an actress. Never happened, still might, fingers crossed. So with the best will in the world, my parents said to me, look, no pressure. Why don't you get a real job first of all? And then perhaps you can, do the acting on the side. So that's what I did. The law part at university was pretty dull. The French part was amazing. We went to France for a year. We really indulged in all of the culture, the lifestyle. We picked up new skills. Then I came back to reality. I qualified as a lawyer, toddled about for a few years, and then, without sounding very dramatic, we had a family trauma. Everything is fine now, but our second son was born with a heart problem, and we had absolutely no idea. During the pregnancy, even after birth, until Niall was about 7 or 8 weeks old, he developed bronchiolitis, which in itself is a really disgusting, unpleasant, not a very nice respiratory illness. But then to our horror, we thought something else has arisen. And the doctors broke the news that he had a heart problem called TAPVD. So unfortunately, he had to be quarantined. His heart was failing every day. He was blue lighted from Craigavon Hospital up to the Royal. And he was too ill to travel to London for treatment. At this stage, our daughter, Ava, was only 3. And we spent every day scratching our heads thinking, why is this happening to us? To cut a very long story short, and it is very long, Niall has made a full recovery. He went over to Evelina Hospital in London, where he underwent severe surgery, and it was a very difficult time for us all. So that was the catalyst for me to change career. I thought, I can't go back to the law, what else can I do? The only other thing I was qualified in was speech and drama. Now, I won't ask anyone to recite a poem, don't worry, maybe not yet. Has anyone ever done elocution or speech and drama? Poetry and festivals as a child? 1, 2? Okay, so I thought to myself, I wonder could I maybe teach children on a Saturday while still practicing the law? Because I couldn't have afforded to just walk away from my career, and that's what I did. In the first class, there were 3 children, one of whom was my own daughter, who had no choice but to be there. And to say that I was elated afterwards is no understatement. That speech and drama school has grown to 200 students. That is looking after itself. But then adults came to me and said, look, I've got a job interview. I've got a work presentation. I'd like to speak more clearly. Can you help me out? And that is where Vocalis came in. So as well as corporate speaking skills and leadership, I also do a little bit of audiobook animation and radio ads. So I'm a big fan of the tricolon rule, and that really is the first little tip I'm going to impart to you all today. Nothing new here. It sounds like I'm talking myself out of a job already. This is not rocket science. 3 is the smallest list you can possibly get. The human brain finds it immensely satisfying to say things in 3s, to do things in 3s, to understand it and to digest it. If you think about the Tesco strapline, every little helps. If you think about Tony Blair's very well-known speech, education, 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 if we're able to break down our speaking into 3 columns, that makes it much easier to understand and to explain to others. So I won't read these out. You can all read, I hope, but it's the first one for me that is the Holy Grail. We all must be aware of our own speech habits and characteristics, and we'll put more meat in the bones of that very shortly. Some of the feedback about this particular kind of session today is that it's practical and interactive, that it's relevant. And thirdly, I'm always a bit nervous when I tell people this, you'll have fun, all right? Hopefully you will find it enjoyable. Some very sleepy heads here. I wonder, could we all get on our feet while I come away from the microphone for 2 minutes? Everyone on their feet, please. Okay. This is a little game called Giants, Wizards, and Elves. It's exactly the same premise as rock, paper, scissors, except instead of rock, paper, scissors, we have, are you ready? Giants. Row. Wizards. Shazam. And elves. You weren't expecting that, were you? I know. So, please could everyone find a partner? Please pair up. We need pairs all over the place. 2 people, please. Well done, guys. Okay, here we go. The glasses come off because I'm really getting into it now. So, in a minute, I'm going to give you a countdown, 3, 2, 1. You're going to stand back to back with your partner. So it's going to look like this. 3, 2, 1, go. Then you want to turn around to your partner and either go, roar, and I really want you to go for it, or shazam, or ee. So what beats what? Giants beat wizards, wizards beat elves, and elves beat giants. A good way to remember it is the biggest one beats the middle one, which beats the tiny one, which beats the biggest one. I'm actually out of breath after that. Whew. Obviously very fit. Okay, we will do the best of three. Please put your back to your partner. Are we ready? Some very competitive people actually rolling their sleeves up at the back. Okay, here comes your first countdown of three. 3, 2, 1, go! Wow, amazing! Excellent, guys. Here comes your second countdown of three. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Wonderful. I can see we already have some winners, but let's do a third one for the crack. Here we go. Third and final coming up. 3, 2, 1, go! Wow, guys! Woo-hoo! Take a seat, please. Wow. Hands up, please, if you were a winner. Who was a winner? Hands up if you were a loser. Oh, loser, guys. So sorry. Do you know what? That is a lovely little icebreaker that lets me see who's confident, who's up for the crack, and who is super competitive. My goodness, who knew that tech people were really, really competitive? So, let's move on. This is a very important question that I ask all of my clients, no matter who it is. What is it that you want your audience to think about you whilst you are speaking? I was recently challenged on this by someone who said, well, Sinead, it depends who I'm talking to. I have to adapt my speaking style to suit my audience. I get it. However, these 3 words have to be consistent across the board. These 3 words are what I call your key words. So if you want to mentally take a note or actually take a note, what are your 3 words? It could be confident, resilient, technical, intelligent, empathetic, any of the above. What I'm not telling you is this. I'm not saying if you tell yourself you are these 3 things, you will become them, because that's just nonsense. These are not aspirations, though. You already are these things. What happens is, at times, when the doubt creeps in, we start to question, well, hold on a minute. Am I confident? Am I passionate? Am I driven? And immediately the demeanour is attacked. We look nervous. We start to mumble. We lose the gravitas. Coming back to that beautiful word, I am a linguist and I love lots of languages. Clearly, as we know, gravitas is a Latin word where the English word grave comes from, but actually the crux of it means heavy. And I always do this gesture when I say heavy, because who doesn't want to feel heavy in a room? We always hear about walking on stage, feeling and looking bigger than we normally are. And there's a lot of truth in that. We need to feel grounded and present. This used to be a top secret. I'm laughing because it's very slowly not becoming a top secret. This is a little nugget that I picked up about 18 months ago at a conference that I was at. Every single time you introduce yourself, you should have a slight split-second pause between your first name and your second name. Why is that? It's because we say our own names so quickly that we're saying them far too fast, apologetically. People miss it. People don't actually get it the first time, especially if our name is a little bit longer or more unusual. Now, there is a limit to this. I wouldn't advise anyone to say, hello, my name is Sinead Lunny. That's just weird. It's half a second, because if you begin in a confident way, it augurs well for the rest of your speaking. These figures have been bandied about for years. These are the ones that I like to use. And it's the third one here that every single time I say it aloud, I question, is that definitely correct? Because it seems ridiculous. 55% of our communication is conveyed through our face. I know it says body language, but let's think about the face. the resting face. We know there's a much more vulgar expression, but we're all too polite to use it, of course. Think about what your face is doing in situations. If you're feeling nervous, which is completely fine, by the way, make sure that your face looks pleasant, confident, and ready to speak. Now, that takes practice, particularly virtually, I've found. You could be focusing very carefully on what someone's saying, but that focus face can look as though you're hangry, you're annoyed, you're losing interest, and then your whole demeanour begins to break down and everything has negative connotations. So be aware of what your face is doing. These 3 V's overlap. There's so much linkage between them, but if you're able to use them all in good balance, you will come across as a much more effective speaker. Body language. People talk about, if you're sitting like this, it means you're not very interested. And this poor gentleman's feeling very paranoid here. That is absolutely fine. For me, it's about eye contact. And I know that if someone is particularly uncomfortable with eye contact for whatever reason, they'll never be comfortable with it. But if you're talking to an audience like I am now, sometimes people wonder, where on earth do I look? If I'm doing a tech talk maybe here next year, do I look at one person? Do I look at the camera? Do I look at my notes all the time? Here's the thing. The aim is to find someone, at least one person in the audience, who looks actively engaged. And unless this gentleman is a very good actor, and he very may well be, I feel he's engaged. There's a slight head tilt there. He's smiling, he's nodding. As a speaker, that gives me a boost. As opposed to someone who's maybe, looking at their phone, talking to somebody else, it does put you off. So make sure that your body language is as positive as it can be. Modulation is the umbrella term for these 4 lovely things. And it's the third one, articulation, that for me is the most important of all. I'm not suggesting that anyone needs to walk out of here today speaking in a different voice. Hello, darlings, I've just been to NIDC. Of course not. However, it's very important to articulate every consonant of every word. Vowels are easy. It's a simple free flow of air by opening your mouth. Consonants are much trickier. So it's very important to hear yourself articulating every consonant in a word. Is there anyone in the public eye who you think speaks super fast? I'm happy for people to call out names quickly. There won't be a follow-up question, don't worry. Pardon? Oh, it was next door. I'm hearing things. So the person I was thinking of was Michelle O'Neill. She speaks exceptionally fast. If you speak too fast, you tend to lose your audience. Also, it attacks your credibility. Your audience start to think there's just something about her. I'm not quite sure if I believe her or not. It's a really good rule of thumb. Here comes the next tip here. To start speaking at a pace that actually feels too slow, unnaturally slow, you will feel very weird trying this for the first time. You're going to pick up the pace inevitably, so why not start a little bit slower? Because here's the beauty. If it's done properly, and I will reiterate that, if this is done properly, if you slow down your speech, not only will you talk more slowly, but you will also be clearer and louder. So let's do a few breathing exercises, I think. It's now got to that stage of the day. So let's everyone get up on their feet once again. We're going to breathe. Okay, does anyone do yoga? Some people do. Okay, this is quite similar to yoga breathing. Because I also teach children speech and drama, I explain it like this. When you breathe in through your snout, your tummy should go out. They think this is hilarious because I use the word snout, but they do remember it. Now, I've spent my whole life trying to keep my tummy in, but now I'm going to push it out, and I want you all to do the same. So, please put your hands over your belly button. In a minute, I want you all to breathe in through your snout and let your belly go out. If your belly does not go out, we simply push it out, okay? So, breathe in through your snout, let your belly go out. Hold for 3, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out through your mouth, let your belly go in. If that has been done properly, you should feel pleasantly lightheaded. Please remain standing. This is where I think people who aren't in this room will wonder what on earth are they doing in there, because it does get quite noisy. This is exactly the same. We're going to do the breathing again this time. Then we're going to try number 1, which is simply saying, it says as long as you can, but let's try 10 seconds, okay? So breathe in through your snout, let your belly go out. Hold for 3, 3, 2, 1, number 1. That's it, keep going. It's like a lovely choir. La. Perfect. Now let's try number 2. We're going to breathe properly again, and we're going to say starting quietly and then getting super loud. When I say loud, I mean very loud. Do not hold back, guys, okay? So breathe in through your snout, let your belly go out. Hold for 3, 3, 2, 1, number 2. That's it, guys. Come on, let's go louder. Let's go, let's go, let's go! That was amazing. And finally, you might be glad to know, this is the the polar opposite, number 3, starting loudly and getting very, very quiet over 10 seconds. So let's do the breathing first of all, okay? Breathe in through your snout, let your belly go out. Hold for 3, 3, 2, 1, number 3. Excellent. Take a seat, everyone. Perfect. These exercises are from RADA. I'm always at great pains to tell people where the resources are from. It's quite spectacular. Over COVID, I did a course with RADA. I was expecting all kinds of complicated, complex exercises. We get this. I'm not complaining, but how easy is this? They said you should really do this, ideally every day, but definitely before speaking. Listening out for a slight echo in the room will let you know that you're speaking at optimum volume, which is a lovely tip. Articulation. The tip of the tongue, the teeth and the lips, hard palate, soft palate. Please, could you all repeat that back to me like a tongue twister? Here we go. Excellent. Please point to the tip of your tongue. Please point to your teeth. Please point to your lips. Please point to your hard palate. Oh, clever people. Please point to your soft palate. Excellent. Why am I telling you this? Because we need to use all of these things for clear speech. Tongue twisters, we're going to try the middle one, okay? So in a minute, I'm going to ask all of you together to do number 2, slow, medium, and then super fast. Are we ready? Go. Faster. Really fast. Excellent. Again, in case people think this is a little bit silly, come on, we're not kids. These are from RADA. So clear speech is absolutely integral to everything, as is pause. Just as a comedian pauses before the punchline of a joke, so too should we pause. If we want to draw attention to a statistic, if we want to shock somebody, pause for slightly longer than you think is comfortable. These are some of the beautiful little foibles that I mentioned earlier. Mouth clicking. Some of you, not necessarily in this room, but earlier on, in other rooms, I was listening to people chattering. Some people are making this noise before they even speak. Sometimes they're going while they move from point to point. Then we have elision. What is that? That's whenever we skip over a syllable of a word to get to the next syllable, or we skip over a word entirely to get to the next word. Vocal fry is whenever your voice ends up down here for no reason. We'll have to try to avoid that. It sounds far too casual and not very polished. Upspeak is whenever you go up at the end for no reason. Everything sounds like a question. It's quite trendy. Let's avoid that. Sibilance is fine, but it's prolonged sibilance, which is the slight hissing on an S or Z sound. This has the effect of making you sound a little bit unprofessional, which I'm sure you don't want to do, really. Voice dropping is simply whenever your voice goes off the edge of a cliff. Simply drops like that. Punchy ending, one of my favourite ones. The last sentence or two of your pitch, presentation, interview answer has to always be 2 things. Slower and louder than everything else you've just said before. Why is that? Because you want your message to land. I've already mentioned the tricolon rule, and then inflection. Inflection is simply the upwards or downwards glide of the voice on the musical scale. A little bit like singing, so too should we use lyricism and melody in our voices, channel our inner newsreader. Speakers you admire. This is a rhetorical question. We no longer, I suppose, we don't need the answer, we don't want the answer. This is very personal to everyone here. The deeper your voice, the more trustworthy, open and transparent you appear to your audience. That's quite striking, actually. So I am going to invite you all, awkward as this will sound, to deepen your voice just by a semitone, like I've just done, to garner more authority. Recording yourself, very important. Not necessarily video, but audio. So you can make yourself accountable for all of the foibles that you're engaging in and try to make sure that you do something about it. All of you will know about the power pose, I assume. Standing like a superhero, okay? Again, nothing new there. So I have done it myself today. If anything, to tell you all, I've done this today. To me, it feels empowering. If I didn't do it, I'd feel a little bit odd. It all comes back to the gravitas, feeling heavy on the stage. Speaking of which, if you're ever a little bit nervous or uncomfortable or uncertain, unprepared, try to let those negative thoughts drop into your tummy, okay, so that you're able to ground yourself. There's a concept called the dragon tail, when you imagine a dragon's tail coming from the small of your back and dropping onto the ground behind you, again, to ground yourself. Finally, this is the easiest one of all, like I'm doing at the moment, pushing my feet gently into the floor. That gives you a sense of feeling heavier. Does anyone know who this gentleman is? Roger Bannister, indeed. The very first person to complete the 4-minute mile in 1954, I believe it was. Up until then, people had thought it was impossible. Even doctors thought that the flesh and the tendons would tear off your ankles if you even attempted it. Here's the strange thing. After Roger accomplished this, 300 people did the same thing within 3 or 4 years. Incredible. Why am I showing you this? Because this is how he approached it. The reason that he was able to achieve it, yes, he trained to within an inch of his life, but he believed he could. So what is the worst that can happen? Believe in yourselves. As we come neatly to the end here, I won't read all of these out, but there wasn't one that I thought was too wishy-washy to include here. Some really interesting vocal exercises here that you can use to garner authority and gravitas. This one here is a little bit naughty because look at what I've put as the second last one, cat arse. Don't tell Garth Gilmore, I'll be sacked. So again, this is from RADA. The first 3, of course, are to do with the voice. Siren humming, which I won't subject you to. Consonant repetitions, which is ludicrous sounding. It sounds like this. Are you ready? These are from RADA. It sounds like a comedy show, but it's true. Then the other 3 are to do with the face. Look at that for a visual. The second one, my goodness. I had to be careful when I was Googling that. Just had to put that out there. RADA taught us this. Before speaking, you should do these mouth exercises. The first one is called no teeth. Can we see that? No teeth is just simply this. No teeth, yeah. The second one is cat arse. Cat arse, yeah. And then finally, the Kim Kardashian pout, also called the Instagram pout. So before you go into your speaking environment, exactly the same way as you'd warm up before the gym, you need to warm your voice and your face up. So as we come to the end, this is my second last slide here. This is something I learned recently enough. There is an option, if you're speaking to an audience, to clap yourself. Now bear with me here. Sometimes it's not going to work. Some clients of mine have said, I will never use that, that's so embarrassing. Sometimes though, whenever you stop talking, you're faced with tumbleweed. Nobody claps. So I've learned recently that if you begin to clap yourself, it has a domino effect. That is the end of my presentation today. I would like to thank all of you for being such good sports, for participating. This is where you can get some more information, and I'm now going to clap myself and yourselves. Thank you so much.